Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
I'm Hannah Elliott.
And I'm Matt Miller. This is Hot Pursuit. Coming up today.
Happy New Year. It's our first episode of 2026.
Yes, Happy New Year from me as well. By the time this comes out, I will have gone and been to the Fish concert at Madison Square Garden. I'm very excited because we're recording before I go. I'm very
When
excited.
is that concert again, Matt, for the record?
Well, they play a run of 4 shows, so 28, 29, 30, 31. And every year, it's as a tradition, I go to the New Year's Eve show. My brothers go to Fish concerts all year long, all over the country, because they're diehard fans. I just go to this one, and it's enough to give me my fix for the whole year. It's just such a blast.
I love that. That's so cool. Are you going with anyone in particular?
I'm going to go with my brothers and a bunch of my friends from high school who all come into town every year for the New Year's Eve run. And one of my favorite REIT guys, real estate investment trusts, have been very unpopular this year. But David Auerbach is a buddy of mine that I go with. He goes to a ton of shows as well. So that's what's your New Year's thing? What do you do for New Year's Eve?
For New Year's Eve, I'm going to go to a party with some friends who have a party out in Pasadena. But I'm not a big New Year's Eve going out person. And then New Year's Day, I also have dinner plans, but nothing crazy for New Year's Day.
But I feel like being in LA and you being you, they're always like famous people around you. Like you'll go to a party and Lake Bell will be there, or like Matt Farah's hanging out, or
you know what? In the same day, literally a week ago, I actually had lunch with Erin Bronner from Bentley. Lovely Erin.
She's great.
Literally on that same day, I saw Billy Gibbons.
From ZZ Top?
Yeah. Yes. Just like I saw him driving down the street. And then who is the NBA Laker guy? What is his name? James Goldstein. He looks kind of like a lizard. He's like 90 years old and he dresses crazy. Do you know him at all?
No.
He's got
Oh, yes. That's the dude who owns the Big Lebowski house.
Yes. He's LA famous, but he's quite a fixture. I also saw him driving his huge white Silver Cloud Rolls Royce, which he famously drives around town, just cruising with the top off. It was kind of amazing. It was one day where I saw like 3 people. Anyway, not a great story, but you get the picture.
I love that house from the Big Lebowski, where the dude goes and everybody's jumping on the trampoline like topless or whatever. Yes. And he has a White Russian. And
that was the first alcoholic drink I ever had, a White Russian.
That's such a cool house. And then Billy Gibbons, I don't know much about ZZ Top, but I know that the Eliminator, I can't remember if that was the song or the record. He has this like Ford flathead V8 coupe.
Big car guy.
Yeah, he likes those hot rods.
He loves the hot rods. When I saw him, this sounds really crazy, but he was in one of those cube cars. It might have been a Nissan Cube.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Does anyone else make a cube car?
Yeah, there's a couple. I mean, there's like, they're all kind of famous from TV shows. The Cube is what Jonah drives in Veep, which I think is hilarious. And there's the Aztec. Is that in Breaking Bad? The Breaking Bad car, it's either a Honda or a Pontiac.
Something like that.
But those are the 3 like cube cars I can think of.
Yeah.
I'm not a fan of any of them for real, but if they're in good colors, they're pretty fun.
I'm always curious about why people buy them.
I always think about if you want enough space, then a cube makes the most sense, right? Like a G-Wagon is a cube essentially.
Yes, sure.
It's a lot different than...
Although famously doesn't have a bunch of legroom.
True.
But we still love it.
True. But you're sitting upright enough that you don't need it. Yeah.
Right. exactly.
It was in Breaking Bad. It was a Pontiac Aztek that the guy drives, and then I can't remember the name of the Honda that has kind of a similar look, but is also terribly.
Yes.
And then there's the Fiat Dupla. My wife's favorite car in Europe is the Fiat Dupla, possibly the ugliest car that has ever been designed.
I have not even heard. Did they even sell that in the US?
Sorry, it's a Multipla. Google
Okay.
Fiat Multipla, not Dupla, and you'll
Oh
see.
no!
Yeah,
Oh my
it's very bad
goodness!
looking.
I can't unsee that. That is what? Oh my gosh! It looks like a alien beetle bug, but not in a good way.
It's got the split level front end, and like GM did that with their trucks for a long time. And it's got those like bulbous headlights under the windshield that makes it look like an insect kind of.
It's like a minivan and a station wagon pushed together, but
Yeah.
on a car chassis.
It's like rivaling Jaguar bad, like that bad.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the New Year's thing.
Face only a mother could love. Yes.
Happy
That's
2026.
Are you someone who makes resolutions?
No, because I mean, I have made resolutions, and I think everyone sort of does in the back of her or his mind, but
Yes.
but no one keeps resolutions, right?
No, I don't. Maybe no.
I know
In
that
LA,
if I'm making a resolution, it's not going to happen.
right. You know, LA, it's all about intentions, being intentional, which somehow feels like less pressure than a resolution. I think it's all about, you have a faint feeling for something and you just intend it and then it happens.
Yeah,
That's the LA way.
All right, so that's our 2026, and the cool thing, I mean, I don't know if it's cool, but I listen to a lot of car podcasts, obviously, and people have the lists, and Haggerty has their like, what do they call it? Their bull market list and stuff.
Yes, I actually love looking at their bull market list. I find it very insightful.
I also do, but we're not going to because everybody else already has.
Right.
But you
We'll
have a
talk
thing.
about-
You have a
Yes.
thing that you do, where you pick your best car of the year, and
Yes.
I know this not
Favorite
only because
car of
because I know you and because I read your work, but also because we were talking about it on Bloomberg Radio and Bloomberg TV all day today. Since your story just hit the wire. So we're going to open with that. We're going to open 2026 with your favorite car that you drove in 2025. You and I drive a ton. I'd say probably together we probably drive 100 cars a year around.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go through some viewer email or listener email because we have some good ones.
We love hearing from you. We love the photos. We love the stories. We love the jokes and even the criticisms.
Yes.
In a weird way, we love it.
Frankly, I prefer the criticisms especially when people are angry and they don't like me. That's when you're guaranteed to get a response.
How is I feel like I always say this, but there's nobody who doesn't like you, Matt. How is this possible?
There are some. I anchor this TV show on Bloomberg every day, and I get, clients messaging in with, that was stupid, or you're totally wrong, or why did they hire you? And I'll write back. Like one guy says, listen, stop trying to be funny all the time. You're not funny. This is serious stuff. Like, why are you making a joke about everything? And I wrote back and I was like, I guess because I want people to like me, and I've always had like, this feeling that I want to belong. And I was pretty honest and open with him.
Wow.
I use
not being sarcastic.
No.
You were actually genuinely like, I'm going to really answer this guy's question.
Yeah. Why is the class clown funny? For obvious reasons, right? I want to be accepted.
Everybody wants to be liked.
Exactly. So I told the guy, like, I spilled it all, and now I've been talking. Now we're like friends.
Oh my goodness. You won him over. That is, which supports my claim that nobody doesn't like you, which is really one of your gifts.
I'll just say, if you think we suck, please tell us.
Sure. We can take it.
All right, let's get to, so you've driven so many cars, from hyper cars to classic cars to big giant pickup trucks at the King Ranch. What was... of all of those vehicles, and it's so hard to, because they're all different tools for different jobs, as you point out. What was the one that you thought was the best?
Let me tell you something.
Yeah.
One of the things that people ask me all the time is, what's your favorite car? And I actually don't, it's my own issue, but I find that a really difficult question because, as you know, I really think of cars as tools. And when you are doing any sort of task, anytime you get into a car, it's for a specific purpose. And like everybody knows, different tools work best in different scenarios. So when people ask, what's your favorite car? It's like, well, give me a scenario and then I will tell you. So and obviously I'm overthinking it, but that's who I am. I'm someone who thinks about these things all day, every day. So of course you're going to get a thoughtful answer. So when someone says, what's the best car? What's your favorite car? I have to say, well, for what? So that's the big caveat to this. I think, first of all, the most interesting car that I was in for the year was the Waymo. And that is because it's so different. And I really believe that this will be the future of transportation for many people. And Matt, I don't think you've been in a Waymo yet, have you?
I have been in a Waymo in Austin, which was a Jag, I think.
Yeah, the SUV.
Yeah. But you're saying it's not about what car, because Waymo will use, I think, different. They have Korean cars also, and but you're saying not the car, but the concept.
Concept, yeah. So that doesn't really count. So other than that, I have to go with what car is the most fun for any given task, and I do believe that any task can be fun. In fact, it should be fun. I don't care if you're going to get groceries or you're going to visit your in-laws or you are going on a holiday drive or you're commuting or whatever. Like, hopefully whatever you're driving for that purpose at least makes it a seamless transition, and at most might even make you look forward to getting back in the vehicle even. I don't think that's too much to ask.
No. And when we come back, you're gonna name the best car that you've driven this year, or in your opinion, what the most fun was. But it has to be also a new car, like a brand new car, like a 2025 or 2026 model, because I know that you've done some long road trips. For example, you drove to Denver and back in a 991 turbo, and you drive to work most days in a Rolls Royce from the 70s. Those won't count, right? It's got to be a new.
We are specifically talking about new model year press cars. These are the press cars that, between you and me, we drive every single week, or I will often travel to drive these cars. These are cars that are new in dealerships for 2025 and in 2026.
All right, so when we come back, Hannah Elliott from Bloomberg Pursuits and this podcast, Hot Pursuit, will tell you what her favorite car, the most fun new car that she's driven in 2025, or that she had driven in 2025 was. Plus, we're going to go through our listener email. I'm Matt Miller with Hannah Elliott. This is Hot Pursuit. This is Hot Pursuit. I'm Matt Miller here with Hannah Elliott. And Hannah, I guess here's the big reveal. Out of all the many cars that you drove, maybe not counting the resto mods, definitely not counting the classics, what was the best?
It was from Mercedes, the Mercedes AMG GT 63 SE Performance. It's a hybrid. It's an all-wheel drive. It's got a back seat, over 800 horsepower, V8 engine. I really liked it, and I want to put it in relief to the 911 because I don't think as we've discussed before, it's not the same car, but it's a competitor, and it's something to be considered in the same sentence as the 911, as the 992.
Over 1,000 pound-feet of torque on that bad boy.
Yeah, by the way. It's a serious car. There are 5 different variants of the AMG GT right now. So I want to be very specific that I drove the hybrid. It's the SE Performance, and it does cost around $200,000.
Wow.
But actually, with the performance numbers that it has, that is most competitive with like a 911 Turbo S, which costs 70 grand more. So I actually think you get quite a lot of bang for your buck with the Mercedes AMG GT.
Yeah, from sheer numbers, I
yeah.
think it bests a 911 Turbo S by a lot. In fact, I drove that car in 2025 as well. I was blown away
Yeah,
by
great
it.
car.
And I thought you have to compare it to like really a Koenigsegg or a Bugatti to get those kind of, a Lamborghini, to get those kind of power and torque numbers. There's just nothing else out there for.
Well, you could throw Ferrari in there too.
True, but I've
I
not
mean,
driven a Ferrari in 10 years.
that is a reoccurring theme in these conversations, and I hope Krista and Faraz are listening, and we'll put a little bug in their ear. I don't know if I would put Koenigsegg and Bugatti in that group, but I certainly would put Lamborghini and Ferrari in. And I want to say also, both the 911, the Turbo S, and both this AMG GT were faster than the Ferrari Amalfi that I drove in Portugal earlier this month in December. So we are talking about a pretty high level of car before you get to the extreme supercar like Koenigsegg, Bugatti. This is like the highest level of sort of road going car you can get before you get into track cars or you get into real supercars, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the only reason I was comparing it to those is when I drove that car, first of all, I drove it for a few days before I saw the actual figures. And so I already loved the car, but I didn't realize it had that much power. And as soon as I did, I went to ChatGPT and had like a long conversation about what else is out there that reaches, over 1,000 pound-feet of torque. That's just insane. The Turbo S has 590 pound-feet of torque.
I know.
And 700 horsepower. So this blows that out of the water.
Yes.
That's the only reason I mentioned the exotics,
Totally. I totally get that. And it's not without, like, for instance, this car, the AMG GT, it's quite a bit heavier than the 911, and it's not as fast in a sprint. I mean, I'm not going to like hash over a couple of points, fractions of a second, but it's not as fast sprinting, and it is quite a bit heavier. So again, like it's not the same driving experience necessarily, but it's something that's comparable that you could use for all the same uses that you will find for the 911. It's definitely a livable car. It's the performance is crazy, but it's also very livable. And I think sometimes when you have cars that have so much power and so much torque, they're not actually fun and nice to drive in regular daily driving. And that was not the case with the AMG GT. And I think that's another reason why I really liked it. I wasn't sort of happy to give it back because it felt stressful to drive and maintain and be careful with, and all of these other things that often go hand in hand with really high powered, expensive cars.
True. It is a car that you could have in your neighborhood. This is something I think about often, without everybody, without all of your neighbors thinking that you're some kind of jerk,
Yes,
without all of your neighbors thinking you're trying to flaunt your wealth. I mean, yes, it's expensive. I mean, it is very expensive. But if you don't know a ton about cars and you see that your neighbor has this Mercedes, you're like, oh, I guess she's doing well. But you don't think like, oh, that person must be a Bitcoin billionaire, right?
Yeah, no, and that's a good thing. And you can also, of course, it really comes down to the spec. And I think we should talk about this desert sand color. That is really, really polarizing.
Yuck.
And costs, if I'm remembering right, another almost $14,000 to option. But some people love the desert sand. They love these gold wheels that I heard multiple people compare to Lamborghini wheels, which they meant as a compliment. So you can also like spec it to be stand out or to be super stealth. What do you think about that desert sand?
I don't like that color on any. I bought a Chevy Silverado ZR2 Mine in the beautiful blue, but they did have that same color, and a lot of people liked it. The guys on TFL loved the desert sand. I think they got one. They did buy one in desert sand.
Wow. That's a truck.
That's a truck A, so it makes more sense to have like a desert sand color, but I didn't like it on the truck. I don't like it on the Mercedes. It's the same color as a hearing aid, or it's the same color as a girdle. Like,
Justin Bell, the famous endurance driver, made a comment that I'm not even going to repeat on air, but he's in your vein.
Yeah.
About he hated it.
Yeah, I wouldn't like that color. But the cool thing about this, I mean, if you have the money, because it is terribly expensive. 200,000 A is,
but cheaper than the 911.
Right, but that's also
similar.
The 911. The biggest problem with the 911 is how expensive it's become, because that was supposed to be like a sports car, almost not for the everyman, but a sports car.
Yes, I know.
That was attainable.
Yes.
A supercar that was attainable,
Completely.
And it's not.
And you know what? This just, I have to say, on a personal note, I've spent a lot of this holiday vacation working on this book that Magnus and I are doing. It's 20 chapters, 20 cars, and it's about a lot of the early Porsches that Magnus has owned. And I am constantly being reminded every day, especially this month as our book deadline approaches, that the STRs, any short wheelbase, air cooled, R inspired sport purpose track car was like $8,000 to buy. Not new, but back in the day, you could pick them up used, $8,000, $9,000, and everything was interchangeable. So you could buy it for cheap and interchange all of the components, all of them, from donor cars, from rollers, from cars that had gone off track and were crashed, but you could still use stuff. It's a whole other ball game now. It's like a completely different environment.
Yeah.
And it is exactly to your point. It's just like a completely different world, how expensive these cars are. And we did get this great email after the Ferrari Amalfi review came out. Someone emailed me and said, this car is so much more expensive and looks already outdated compared to the sports cars that are being made in China.
Ugh, that's harsh.
I know.
I don't know any Chinese-made sports cars.
It might not be wrong. I know.
The Lotus
There's
Emira.
a problem. You can't buy Chinese sports cars in the U.S. and a lot of other places. So I don't think Ferrari's quite scared yet. But it's an interesting point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think I saw some Instagram video where a guy was saying about Porsches, the used ones. It used to be cool to buy an old Porsche for a good deal, and you were like you were a car enthusiast that we all admired and respected. Now, if you buy a 9972 for like $140,000, you're just like, that's not cool at all. I think his point was, you're not a cool car guy if you do that anymore. You're just a really, really rich person that has endless resources. And the same is true pretty much for a new 911, because even a base Carrera is going to run you $140,000 before you put any options on it, right? I mean, if I think of my favorite car of the year and that I drove that Mercedes, I loved it, but I thought it's very expensive. It has the engine in the front. And to me, there's something more special about having a mid-engine car or an engine in the back. I drove the Aston Martin Vanquish, which I absolutely thought was beautiful, but it's so exotic, and it also is $600,000. Like, that's silly. For me, the best car I drove this year was the 911 Carrera T. It has everything I need and still has a stick shift and 3 pedals. It has not the power of a GT car, but come on, 380 horsepower is more than enough for my daily driver. It doesn't
How
have
much was that? Do you know
when I spec out a Carrera T on the website on the configurator, which I do, 3 or 4 times a week, I still get to 160 if I'm being conservative, 180 if I let her rip. Like, it's still just too expensive for what a Carrera T is philosophically supposed to be. And I don't know how Porsche deals with that, since they're in a world of hurt right now as a business.
The T, I've always thought, is the thinking man's 911, because it has everything you need and nothing you don't.
Right. And the 911 is, I mean, someone asked me this morning on radio, what is your favorite car? And I said the same thing you say, like, it's a very difficult question and it depends on the tool. But at the end of the day, they were like, look, if you could only have one car, price is no issue. You're not allowed to resell it. It's like your only car. Yes. Of course, I'd choose a 911.
Here's kind of why because I don't disagree with you. Here's kind of why I said the AMG GT. Part of it is me just being ornery. It's different. Because it's different. And I don't want to have the same car as everyone. And I live in quite a bubble. I go between Hollywood and Beverly Hills and Century City every day. And I live in a bubble. And part of me is just being like, no, I want to be different, and turning up my nose only to be ornery. Because I don't want to have the same car that all the guys going into the CAA building have. And I happen to know someone who felt pressure, who has worked for CAA and felt like he, quote unquote, should buy a 911 because that was the car he was supposed to have. And he got it and he did not like it and he gave it back.
Wow.
But that to me indicates.
You mean he flipped it for $100,000 profit?
Well, maybe. It wasn't a desire. It was just like a base level 992. It wasn't like an ST or anything. But he went back to his Tesla. And to me, though, it was like this guy who's not a car guy at all, but he somehow was picking up on this pressure that he, quote unquote, should have one because of the status or whatever, and because of whatever money he was making at that time. But that's kind of where they are now. And there's a part of me that's just like, I want to buy into it.
No, I get it.
On principle. Coming up, we're going to check in with you. Thanks again for writing. Our first listener mailbag of 2026 is coming up. That's up next here on Hot Pursuit.
Welcome back to Hot Pursuit. I'm Matt Miller with Hannah Elliott, and we are going to dive into our listener mailbag. We got some pretty good emails, actually. Some fascinating really stuff. I started a couple cool conversations. I got into a discussion with a dude named Kevin about well, first he was talking about the 997. I'm looking for a 997, and this has nothing to do with my comment about someone who buys a 997.2 because I'm looking for a 997.1.
Now, explain again why you want the 1.1 rather than .2.
Well, for one thing, it's cheaper, right? The 997.1 still had the M96 or M97 motor with the intermediate shaft bearing. It was a revised IMS bearing, so it didn't likely grenade the car the way the 996 did. But it did have, and it does have bore scoring issues as well. So you have to be careful when you're buying a 997.1 because it could go disastrously wrong. But it also doesn't have to. It's just, like maybe a tenth of the cars have real problems, or maybe a fifth of the cars have real problems.
Okay, this is really in the woods. So right. I don't have a good comeback for this. I mean, I'm not familiar with the boring issues of
the bore scoring. So the other thing is the 997.2. That's when they brought in the 9A1 motor. That's in then the 991.1, and it doesn't even have an intermediate shaft bearing, so there wasn't that problem. It doesn't have bore scoring issues, and it's direct injection, so it offers more power and better efficiency. That sounds great, but it doesn't, because it has direct injection, it doesn't have the same kind of intake noise, and it doesn't have as mechanical or analog a feel, and that, I think, is a bonus for a cheaper car.
But is it more difficult to maintain power across as you're accelerating in and out of corners? Are you noticing a big shift between like a carbureted injection versus?
It's not. Direct? Well, so the 997.1 isn't carbureted. but it just sprays the fuel in with the air at the beginning, at the opening, and it's not direct injection. So it's, the new motor, the 9A1,
It's not MFI. I know that.
Will have more power and will pull out of corners probably a little bit. But I'm not racing this, It's my daily driver.
That's my point. I'm like, I freely admit I cannot tell the difference between how the fuel is being injected. I'm not on that level.
Well, it's not a huge difference, right? I think for the Carrera S, the first half of 997s have 355 horsepower, and the second half have 385 horsepower. So it's not going to change your world. It's just that the reason people pay a premium for the 0.2 is that they're less likely to blow up. They're more reliable engines. They're going to cost less in maintenance. But I don't care.
I think we should say, for the record, there's probably not a lot of there isn't a lot of history of 997.1s blowing up. This isn't like
on the internet. It's a big thing.
Okay, that's the caveat. But in the real world,
no,
this is not a concern.
They're not likely to explode, but they could slowly wear out, lose power, and become a problem if there's bore scoring. That's not a problem because there's people that do rebuilds. Of course, when you pay for that rebuild, it then reduces or makes up for the premium you pay for the 997.2. But you can go to somebody like in New Jersey, the guy that did Matt Farah's Boxer or Cayman or whatever, he'll rebuild your engine to a 4-liter. He'll bore it out, and he'll put nickel sleeves in the cylinders, and then you're good to go. And it's awesome. Anyway, the point of Kevin's email is none of that. It's just that he heard my comment about the Porsche Classic radio, because the other thing about a 997 is it's dated technology, right? In terms of the head unit.
Sure.
And the screen. And he said you can put a Porsche Classic radio. That's what he put in one of his. He has two 997s. He has a Carrera.
That's a good idea.
And a turbo. Yeah, it's a great idea from Porsche. It's an amazing way to make money.
Yes.
Like, you could replace the navigation system with something newer and better and more capable and more modern looking.
Right.
And I thanked Kevin for the advice, but I've already decided if I get this vehicle, I'm going to get rid of the navigation screen, head unit completely in the dash. And replace it with just an open cubby, like a GT3 cubby. And then you hide the electronics like in the frunk somewhere, and you put in a new amplifier and new speakers. So
I totally support this intention for you for 2026 and beyond.
Thank you.
I hope that it does happen. And as someone who's, again, main drivers, the radios don't work. There are many other options that you can have. And I'm a big fan of the cubby idea.
Yeah, plus the engine sounds better.
Bar in the West Village.
I need less to listen to the radio. But the other cool thing about this message, like when this guy Kevin messaged me, then I messaged him back because I was thinking about the turbo also. The 997.1 generation has the last Metzger engine for the turbos. In 997.2, they went with the 9A1 turbo, which is different. And so I was considering it, and I asked him, like, is there like real turbo lag? And he said, yeah, when you put the pedal down, like it will take a moment and then kick you.
Let's take a breath.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Yep.
Sure. I don't want that. I want linear power band. And so I no longer am considering the turbo.
Good email.
Great email. This is what I live for. That's why I want people to write to us. I gain intel. I have a fun conversation. It's something to do while my daughter's watching the 18th episode of Bluey. But the interesting thing about the emails we got is this kind of ties into what Scott wrote to us about.
Scott had a great email. The subject line is a quick thought on analog cars and software-defined luxury. And this is great because it actually touches on a couple of pieces that we've done. We've talked a lot about tech overreach in cars and how luxury is now being defined a lot by the software and hardware in the car, especially the software in the car, not other things like leather and interior accoutrement, etc. So Scott basically sent us a bullet list of things that he thinks that we should really pay more attention to when we're evaluating press cars, which I think is actually a very point well taken.
Yeah. Well, he says, look, I have a 25-year-old Corvette. He loves it, but he doesn't drive it that much. It's like a weekend thing, like a fair weather Sunday car. And he says analog cars are fun toys, not practical transportation. Most driving today is commuting in dense traffic. Even for luxury buyers in that world, the ultimate sophistication really is simplicity, and that increasingly comes from good hardware, not more switches. So I get his point, but I disagree on part of this, which is the analogness of it. Like, I also drive in often bumper to bumper traffic. I'm commuting from Scarsdale into New York City every morning, and fortunately I do that early enough that I have no traffic. But going home in the afternoon, I have a ton of traffic. Nonetheless, I still want 3 pedals. Like, there's no situation in which I would prefer a PDK to a manual transmission. I actually talked with Magnus about this briefly because, you guys got that 991 turbo, and I was like, I hadn't thought about it until a few months after, but they only came with a PDK. So I messaged him right away. I was like, Magnus, dude, you bought a PDK car? And he was like, yeah, well, it's actually great in traffic. So I get it. I still would rather have 3 pedals and a stick. Like, I'm willing to take the little bit of pain that I have getting on the FDR or getting on the Major Deegan for the fun that I have when it opens up on the Sawmill, or when I get on, the Bronx River Parkway and I can start to use it again. I don't want an automatic transmission if I can avoid it. Now, you can't in a Corvette these days, or you can't in the Mercedes AMG GT, but I would prefer having analog gauges in every scenario. I would prefer having a handbrake over an electronic parking brake in every single scenario. I would prefer having a good manual transmission in every single scenario. There's no scenario in which I don't want those things to be analog. What I agree with him on is I want voice commands. I want, if it has this kind of technology, I want it to understand when I say call mom, it doesn't call Bob, Right. Right. Or when I say play the Grateful Dead, it knows I mean channel 23 on Sirius XM. He points out a driver profile setup. It's not necessary for me, but I know you can, every time you get in the car, it puts on the station you want, puts your car seat in the position you want. I get that, but for me, I'd rather have a manual seat as well. Like, when I'm speccing my Porsche, I always spec the sport seats that just have the 4 position movement and a manual slide front and back. He says active noise cancellation. Do you want that? I guess if you're in a Rolls Royce, yes. If I'm in a Carrera T, no, I don't want that. Overall software polish. Yes, do I want that?
That's a big one.
Yeah, I do. I want a car, if it's got that software, I want it to work well and feel factory. I don't want it to feel like an aftermarket solution that doesn't work.
This is a big thing that makes, I'm thinking of Lotus, I'm thinking of McLaren, where whatever screens they have do feel retrofitted in the car. They do not feel one with the car. They feel like these guys built the car and then, stamped on the screen later. And I do agree that the overall integration of all of this is very important in the car. But it sounds like you're basically saying you disagree with the premise that it has to be one or the other, that it has to be analog or modern, that it has to be old 25-year-old car or everything new with a bunch of new tech. And Matt, you're saying like these individual bullet points do make sense, but you could have that and still have an analog experience.
Yeah, and and I think I'm guessing Scott would probably agree with me. Maybe we're just talking right past each other, because like the 911 Carrera T, the 2025 version, the software is seamless. It feels factory. The driver profile setup, it's quick, it's intelligent. The voice commands, yes, the car understands everything I'm telling it to. Lane change assist works perfectly. It even has, you can option like night vision if you want. But it still has 3 pedals. It still has a stick. It still can be fun whenever you want. Do I wish it had analog gauges in front of the steering wheel? Yes. Do I wish it had a handbrake so I could do sick 180-degree turns on a 2-lane highway? Yes, I do. But I think that's a car that probably both Scott and I would appreciate.
Yeah, for sure. And I actually really like Scott's suggestion that we talk more with tier 1 suppliers from like Bosch or Denso or whatever. I'd be interested to talk with even like, people who are making seats and anybody who's making major components. I always find really interesting.
Me too. ZF.
I'd
love to talk to people from ZF.
That's a great suggestion.
Harman just bought an 80AS business. I agree. I think it's, again, this is a very helpful email. This is the kind of thing that I want people to write to us. If you have this kind of intel, if you have this kind of knowledge, please share it with us.
Right.
On that note, Clarence wrote in, I'm trying to find his email. Here it is. Yeah. So I think it all ties together, right? Because it's the same topic. You have always had an issue with the Mercedes volume slide that they had put on the steering wheel, right? You slide your finger up or down to change the volume. And you said, like, why do that when the knob or the dial, the roller worked perfectly? And Mercedes agreed with you and went back to that.
And so did Ferrari. And actually, Ferrari has even said on this new Amalfi with the new steering wheel setup with more buttons, they are going to next year sell that steering wheel that you can retrofit on any previous Ferraris. So, for instance, our friend Steve Serio, who owns the Roma and got the older steering wheel that did have a lot of tiny little screens, he could go in and buy the new steering wheel and put it on his Roma, which he likes, which is great. To your point, I think, and to Clarence's point, who wrote in and said he converted his son's GTI from digital buttons to manual. They got an aftermarket kit. It sounds like the guy's 25 and he didn't like the digital stuff either. So it's not just like it's a bunch of boomers who don't like buttons. It's humans who don't like the screens. It's humans.
Yeah. To be clear, for anyone listening out there, me and Hannah were not actually boomers.
Oh no, I'm a millennial. Come on.
I'm Generation Golf. So in this country, it's Gen X. Right? Oh. But in Germany, I'm 52. In Germany, we're known as Generation Golf because people in my generation, when you turned 18 in Germany, that's the car you got. It was a Golf.
Cool. I like that, actually.
Like Clarence's kid, essentially. Okay, he has a GTI. But that's a Golf, right? That's a Golf.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, that's cool.
So all of these, I think we're all on the same page with pretty much everybody here. I mean,
it's a theme for sure. People are talking.
And I also think it's cool that more car makers, or at least more tier 1 suppliers, are coming out with aftermarket solutions that solve these issues. Like Kevin pointed out with the PCCM, you can replace the head unit. Like Clarence points out with the steering wheel that you can replace in the GTI, and you can do that with a Porsche as well. A 911 steering wheel, you can put a 991 steering wheel on a 997, or you can buy kits that make it however you want it. And and to Scott's point, a lot of these aftermarket replacements, they don't just feel retrofitted. They can be made fairly factory, but it's getting better and better and better. And and by the way, I keep thinking about batteries in the same way, right? So I love the Corvette E-Ray, which has a little electric motor in the front and a tiny little 1.9 kilowatt hour battery. I always think like battery technology gets better and better every year. Can I, in 5 years, if I bought that car, can I put a 20 kilowatt hour battery that's the exact same size and packaging? Can I replace that? Or even on an electric car, if I bought like a Hummer with its giant 210 kilowatt hour battery pack that weighs like 5,000 pounds, can I, in 10 years when I can fit 210 kilowatt hours into like a suitcase size, can I replace that? I hope you'll be able to retrofit batteries.
everyone that I've ever asked about it, they all say, yeah, sure. But is that realistic?
Yeah, no, I hear a lot of
like
no's,
theoretically, yes, you could. Theoretically, you could. Right?
I hear a lot of no's, but
do you really?
yeah.
Why?
Because they didn't build the car with that in mind. So most manufacturers put the battery somewhere or taking it out and replacing it is a serious, like it's worse than changing timing belts on a Ferrari where you have to take the engine out. But maybe they're shifting into that direction. By the way, do you know that Benedetto Vigna, the CEO of Ferrari, when I talked to him, he didn't say, but I feel like wink, wink, nudge, nudge implied that the stick shift, the manual transmission might come back. And last week I was listening to Doug DeMuro and he says Ferrari is not coming back with manual transmissions.
Well, how does he know?
I don't know. But the reason I say this is that we are going to talk to Doug DeMuro next week.
We will ask him about that specifically.
He will be our guest.
Can't wait to talk to him about how he's going to spend all his money.
Yes, he's made even more money. And when I was trying to book him for the podcast, he's like, listen, I'm trying to work as little as possible. So I was like, that's fantastic, dude.
That's wonderful.
We'll ask him about the Carrera GT. How much further can it appreciate in value? Does it have an F1 motor in it? We'll ask him about his Ford GT, which is my favorite car that he owns. We'll ask him about his new 993 Turbo in Arena Red. How much?
I don't know where he keeps these cars.
That's what I'll ask him that too.
And who he has taking care of them for him.
We'll ask him that as well. And he has a Lamborghini Countach that apparently has to keep going back to the shop. We'll ask him about that.
Need someone to manage that. That's a lot of paperwork.
So that's essentially my tease for next week, meaning that we're done for this week.
Join us.
Yes.
You know where I'm going next week?
Where?
CES.
Oh my goodness.
So if anybody's going to be in Vegas, let me know. I will be there. I will be there most of the week and I will be talking to folks. Bloomberg's actually doing some pretty great things. So if you're going to be in CES, come find me, come talk to me. Because I've never been. I've actually never been.
You're so money and you don't even know it, baby. That does it for this week's show. Remember to follow and subscribe to Hot Pursuit on Apple, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen.
You can also check out my columns and stories on Bloomberg.com and the Bloomberg Business app. Go there for car reviews, events, and stories that you won't find anywhere else. You can find it all at Bloomberg.com/pursuits/autos.
I'm Matt Miller, along with Hannah Elliott. We'll be back in your podcast feed again next week.